these four are all from Ipsy High. Then we had another team, three students, partly from ACE, partly from Lincoln. They took 7th in the state of Michigan. So we've really done a lot this year. But then the big one is these 4 students also. They're part of the NASA Hunch culinary competition team. We did place 10th, or top 10 in the United States, which is just an amazing thing. The NASA Hunch program, it was basically we were trying to send a meal that we developed to the International Space Station. I know in education these days we talk a lot about STEM. Nothing fits better into STEM than this NASA Hunch challenge. We had to not only think about like super strict nutrition guidelines with this competition, but then also had to think about how to actually get it to the International Space Station. How does products dehydrate, or how do they go through the retort process? So it was just a fascinating thing. So we spent 4 days down in Houston, Texas. Got to meet an unbelievable amount of just very, very talented people from around the United States, including the executive chef of the White House, astronauts, some just amazing, wonderful people at NASA. So we're still waiting to see our results for that. But as soon as I get it, I'm going to let everybody know, because these 4, they worked so hard to get there. And it was a heck of a competition. And thank you to anybody who joined the live stream from us.
We worked really hard, and we did great down at Houston. And I'm proud of all of my members as the teacher.
Thank you again for all of your support. We do have some delicious tokens of our gratitude we're going to pass out to you guys in just a second. So thank you again.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
They'll be right back. And Chef, we had a question from one of our board members.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice President.
So if your meal is chosen, does that mean they pick your meal to go up in space?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and it's just it's a very complicated process to get a meal into space. It's unbelievably difficult because of all the restrictions that you have to think about. And there's, it's not just like the nutrition standards that they have to think about, because in a microgravity, fluid in your body does some very odd things. So, almost no salt, almost no fat, things like that. And then when you start thinking about how that food can be reconstituted, reheated, it gets even more challenging, because there's no fresh vegetables. There's nothing crunchy on the International Space Station. There's no bread. Because of the microgravity, you can't have crumbs floating into equipment. Sauces have to actually be thickened. They can't have any vinaigrettes or things like that. And then things get even more complicated when you think about the fact that astronauts don't have a knife or a fork, because sharp pointy things floating around in microgravity isn't a great idea. So it's all of these things that you have to think about, and then about how it does get processed. The food does get processed at the Johnson Space Lab to go to the International Space Station. It's very, very interesting. So, thank you again for all of your support.
Job well done. Keep up the great work.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Next, that takes us to the adoption of the resolution for student appreciation. I will go ahead and read the resolution, and then we will take a motion. Whereas April is an exciting time of year for students of all ages, with students preparing for finals and our younger students readying themselves for end-of-the-year activities. And the last few months of the school year are a time of important changes and transitions as students prepare to advance a grade or graduate. And during Student Appreciation Week, we should take time to recognize all the hard work that Michigan students have put into their studies, extracurricular activities, and communities throughout this academic year. And Michigan students all deserve a world-class education, resources to help them face unique challenges, and opportunities to pursue their dreams and find success. And we appreciate the Whitmer administration who worked hard to expand opportunities for Michigan's students and has made the largest education investment in state history to close the funding gap between schools, support student mental health, expand access to preschool programs for 22,000 more four-year-olds, and fully fund Michigan Reconnect to provide tuition-free education or skills training to Michiganders 25 and older. And although we celebrate them all year, the week of April 25th through May 1st, we celebrate and honor all our students, wish them the best with their final exams and assignments, and recommit ourselves to investing in their future. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Ypsilanti Community Schools Board of Education proclaims April 25th through May 1st, 2022 as Student Appreciation Week in Michigan. Be it further resolved that the Ypsilanti Community Schools Board of Education strongly encourages all members of our community to join in personally expressing appreciation to our students for their hard work and diligence. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, Trustee Townsend, I move that the Board of Education adopts the resolution of Student Appreciation Week for the week of April 25th to May 1st, 2022.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Trustee Townsend. Is there support for this motion?
Trustee Schindler, I support.
Supported by Trustee Schindler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to the adoption of our resolution for staff appreciation for 2022. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you so much, Madam President. We know that during the month of May, our state truly differentiates and makes sure to lift up the individual groups that are recognized. School Principals Day was Saturday, March 1st, 2022. Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week, May 2nd through 6th. School Lunch Hero Day, May 6th. And then School Nurse Day is coming up May 11th. And so this resolution is a resolution of staff appreciation. Might I read it? Thank you. It says, whereas during the unprecedented time, Ypsilanti Community School principals, teachers, staff, school lunch staff, school nurses continue to change the lives of children every day. Their immense work and impact moves us beyond words. And with the world pandemic health crisis continuing, YCS principals, teachers, staff, school lunch staff, school nurses have done even more to continue education with in-person learning and virtual classrooms, all to ensure every student has the tools they need to reach their full potential. And YCS administrators, teachers, staff, school lunch staff, school nurses fill many roles as listeners, explorers, role models, motivators, and mentors. And YCS administrators, teachers, staff, school lunch staff, school nurses continue to influence us long after our school days are only memories. And administrators, teachers, staff, school lunch staff, and school nurses of Ypsilanti Community Schools spend countless hours preparing lessons, supporting and guiding staff, preparing healthy meals, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service. And our school district recognizes and supports its administrators, teachers, staff, school lunch staff, school nurses, in educating the children of this great learning community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti Community Schools Board of Education proclaims May 1st, 2022 to be School Principal Day, May 2nd through 6th, 2022 to be Teacher Staff Appreciation Week, May 6th, 2022 to be School Lunch Hero Day, and May 11th, 2022 to be School Nurse Day. And be it further resolved that the Ypsilanti Community Schools Board of Education strongly encourages all members of our community to join in personally expressing appreciation to our principals, teachers, school staff, school lunch staff, and school nurses for their dedication and devotion to their work.
Thank you, Dr. Zachary Ross. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, I move that the Board of Education adopt the resolution of recognition proclaiming May 1st, 2022 to be School Principal Day, May 2nd through 6th, 2022 to be Teacher Staff Appreciation Week, May 6th, 2022 to be School Lunch Hero Day, and May 11th, 2022 to be School Nurse Day.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Trustee Goodrich. Is there support for this motion?
Support Vice President Lee.
Supported by Vice President Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to our first presentation for this evening. It's our three-year budget projection, and that will be delivered to us by Ms. Nyack. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you, Madam President. And we know that the Director of Business Services and Finances has been working on looking at this three-year projection, knowing that there are additional funds that we've had to be responsible for and get approval for by our state and by the board. And so at this presentation, she will present, give an overview of the ESSER funds as we want to make sure we're bringing that forward, as well as differentiating how that will be allocated and how the budget will be determined over the next 3 years. Ms. Nyack, is it up?
Is it possible to dim those lights? I know we had figured out how. There we go. Thanks.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Zachary Ross, and Madam President. As Julie is bringing up the presentation, thank you for giving me this opportunity to present the budget projection in front of you. But first, I would like to take the opportunity to thank our community for their continuous support. As you know, that the millage passed on May 3rd. So I really want to I really wanted to take this time and say that thank you. We truly are stronger together. So again, thank you so much for supporting us in this millage renewal. Just a slide, sir. Wow. Perfect. Judy, will you be able to do next slide as this won't work? Thank you. As Superintendent Zachary Ross said, this year the budget projection is one of the unique process that we have to go through. Not only we had to consider the annual funding sources that we generally consider during this time, we also had to consider our one-time funding and how that will affect, because they will be part of our budget projection for the next 2 years. Thanks to our wonderful community. Thanks to our wonderful community who supported us, we can assume the 18 mills local revenue that we will consider in this budget projection, as well as the foundation allowance. And I will come back to the foundation allowance in the future slide. And the state categoricals like our 31A funding or a Section 41 funding that we get through our state aid payment. Like I said, we do have to consider the one-time funding. We have SR2 and SR3 for the next 2 school years. Our annual funding for federal grants like Title I to IDEA, like that, as well as our Act 18 payments that we receive through our WISD. Last but not the least, the enrollment projections. The enrollment projection affects all of this funding, whether it is foundation allowance or whether it is our Title I. It helps us, considering all the above line items, helps us with revenue projection. It also helps us look at the district needs, whether it is staffing requirement, supplies and materials that we need for building, or any annual expenses we have, such as vendor contracts with each vendor. That this also helps us looking at all the needs with our expense projection. Like we said, this year is a unique year with the SR funding. I would like to take this time to go over our SR plan and how we have planned for the next 2 fiscal years. As you can see, we still have SR2 and SR3 funds approved. SR2 funds are completely 100% approved by state, whereas the SR3, only 2/3 of the funds have been approved. We have submitted our application. We are waiting for the rest of the funds to be approved. As of now, we have total of $23,534,387 approved between the SR2 and SR3. One of the requirements of these federal grants was to keep aside the 20% aside to address the learning loss. YCS has achieved that by keeping aside for our wonderful summer school or Grizzly Learning Camp. One of the requirements of these grants was to receive a community input. When we knew those funds were getting available last summer, we hosted many community stakeholder inputs sessions, which after listening to them, we developed a plan and we submitted this plan to MDE back in December. Once the plan was approved, this is how we planned for each line item. As we listened to our community stakeholders to pay down our debt, we planned for paying down our debt. As you know, that there are 2 types of debt. We have operational debt as well as the bond debt. We can use this fund to pay only the operational debt. We cannot use these funds to pay the bond debt, as that will cross the funds. Keeping that in mind, we plan to pay down the Schneider Electric lease in the June 1st is the payment when the payment is due. We plan for paying down the Schneider Electric lease in the June payment. And the revenue refinance bond for the fiscal year 22-23, we will pay off that. You know that the Bill 618 has passed, which allows us to, which reduces our interest rates and which will save us over $1 million during the life of the loan. And there are other plans in the process which will help YCS reduce its debt. This is the best time for YCS to pay down their operational debt. So we used part of the SR funds to do that. Next, we knew this funding was coming at the end of the last school year. So during negotiations, we allocated part of this funding when we agreed for the salary increases as well as the steps for the next couple of years, or the longevity increase or the cash in lieu increase for our staff. As we listen to our staff with the mask, and I can attest it as I'm speaking with the mask on, it is very difficult. And we heard from our staff that it is very difficult to provide these instructions wearing this mask. Keeping that in mind, we planned for the audio and the video upgrade to make it easier for our staff to provide these instructions for our students. That leaves us, when you take all those line items, that left us with $2,059,346. Knowing that our staff has worked tirelessly during these challenging times, we wanted to show them our appreciation. So we came up with a proposal of $1,750 per staff. When we came up with this proposal, we looked at the countywide data. Countywide, the other districts have provided $1,500, on an average, $1,500, but that is only to the instructional staff and the administrative staff. We are proposing for each and every member of our staff who works for the district. When we costed that out, this would cost the district $2,014,285, which was possible looking at the remaining funds available. We received a proposal from the union for $2,500 per staff. When we costed that out, including benefits, it would have costed $2,802,010. If we were to process this as a bonus payment, it would have still costed us $2,523,585. As you can see, the numbers in the red is the part of the money that we don't have right now approved by the state of Michigan. So we came back with a proposal for $2,000 per staff. If we process this as a bonus payment, it will cost the district $1,991,586. I know I presented a lot of information, but I would like to take the time and take a pause and ask to see if you have any questions. What we would like is a consensus from the board to process this as a payment on the May 31st payroll.
Any board questions or discussion at this time?
So I have a question.
Mhm.
All right, so you said that with the benefit, if we process it with benefits, it will cost us 2.2
Mhm.
million, but you're suggesting doing it as a bonus.
Yes.
So then
So when you
you
do
don't
it,
have to take benefits.
when you do it as a bonus payment, it's not ORS eligible.
Okay,
That's how you save that
okay.
and make that happen. So the more money goes into our staff's hand.
Any other board questions?
Just piggyback on what she said, so it's considered a bonus and not a gift, so the tax will be different on it, right?
Oh, yes. They will still, they're still eligible for the retirement, the FICA. All the other benefits are included except ORS.
Because it's depending on the wording, it's gonna be taxed different, so that's why I was wondering how. I mean,
They will receive it as a bonus payment, but it won't be eligible for, like, the way we have like 4 items in the benefit. One of it is ORS, and if that's what it is not eligible, and that's how we save. If it is taxed at a higher rate because it's a bonus payment, yes, it will be,
To be less take home.
yes.
Yeah, that's what I want to know, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna make a difference how it's worded.
Mhm.
Any other board questions? Thank you, Ms. Nyla.
Thank you. Actually, next slide. So now that we have looked at our federal funding, this is one of the biggest one that plays a biggest role that it plays in our enrollment projection. What I have assumed for this enrollment projection is our grade level cohort will be moving forward. Number of kindergartens that will be enrolled in the new school year will be based on the historical data as well as the data from IADEX and the birth rate from the Washtenaw County. As well as we assume that we either increase or keep the special education kids same. As you can see I have divided our enrollment into 3 categories: elementary, middle school, and high school. As all the data I was not able to fit on one slide. The first column, you see the MSDS data 2022 spring. That's the audited data that we have for this school year for the spring count. Based on that data, if you follow the steps, we are assuming that all the 317 kids will be moving to the first grade for the 2022, second grade for the 2023, and so on. And the same thing with each grade level. So if we continue that and we assume with the birth rate and the IADEX data that we have, the projection would be the new 327 kids will be coming in to kindergarten. By that, keeping our enrollment count either increase or stay the same for the next 3 years. Next slide. So say with the same projection, we assume that all our 5th graders will pass the 5th grade and move into 6th grade for the next school year, and the 6th grade will go to 7th, and 7th will be going to 8th. So for the next 2 slides, that's what our assumptions are. These are assumptions, and we will know more as our fall count is done in October, as well as the spring count is done in February. But based on the data that we had these projections. You can see now the high school enrollment data. And at the bottom of it, you will see this year we had 142 special ed count. We assume that we will get the same or more every year, which gets us to the total student count of 3,663 for this year. Give or take few, it will increase or stay the same for the upcoming 3 school years. Based on the enrollment projections and the keeping in the assumptions of we are receiving this 18 mills from the local revenue. And remember, I said I will come back to the foundation allowance. For the budget projection, I have kept the foundation allowance at 8,700. As you know that there is a proposal to increase the foundation allowance anywhere from $435 to $450. We will know more in the May revenue conference on May 20th. As and more we get the concrete information, our budget projection will change for the initial adoption, or it might be the part of our amendment in December. We continue to receive the similar 31A funding, as well as the Title I, II, III, all our federal grants. Also remember, we have the SEEK and the LEAP funding for the next 2 years. This year being the first year, we had funding of SEEK for the 3 years and LEAP for the 5 years. We also assume that we will get similar money for the Act 18, Head Start, IDEA, GSRP. Based on all that funding, actually next slide. Here is what our revenue projection is for the next 3 years. The first year is recently, back in March, we passed the amended budget. That's what our budget is. Each line item tells us the story of how we get the funding. The local funds is where we get from the 18 mills, as well as any building rentals and miscellaneous revenue. The state funds are based on our foundation allowance and the stated categoricals. Federal funds is where you will see the biggest change. You will see that from $40 million, we are going all the way to $8 million. No, we are not losing any funding. We are just making sure that we use all our ESSER funds. These are one-time funds. We are using all the ESSER funds in the given timeline. And as we use it, you will see that reducing over the next 2-3 years. And again, in 2025, when our SEEK grants get extended, we will see the difference in the federal funding at that point. The incoming transfer, as you can see, it's the Act 18 payment that we receive from the WISD. Making our totals gradually decreasing from what we are this year, but still all the funds will be, all the grants will be used in their timeline to the fullest. This is a visual of the same information. The previous slide is numbers. I like the numbers more, but people prefer the visuals. So this is a graph showing that the blue line, which indicates our federal funds, as you can see, it's going gradually down, making sure that we use all our federal funds timely. Knowing that whatever revenue we are expecting revenue for 3 years, these are the assumptions that we made for the expenses for the district for the next 3 years. We would continue to employ the staff based on each building or each school needs, whatever our post-pandemic needs for each school will be. There is a medical benefit cost that's increasing on an average of 3%, and cost of increasing purchasing services as well as the categorical expenses. Due to pandemic, we know that all the expenses are going higher. This is another visual expense projection for the next 3 years. You can see the light blue and the orange, which is the salary and the benefits, which is our major expenses for our school. The gray area is a purchase service. Purchase service includes like vendor contracts, or field trips, or in-house presentations, things like that. The 4.1% shows the supplies and the materials that we need district-wide, and all other, which includes like equipment or dues and fees or VOC expenses, all those come under that all other, as well as the debt that we pay from for our district. That all falls in that all other category, which shows the 17%. To summarize the budget projection, in addition to our regular annual funding that we receive, YCS has received multiple grants for the next 3 years, SR 1, 2, 3, SEEK, LEAP, and so on. Each grant will be expensed fully based on the criteria allowed by MDE during the span of the grant period. Keeping track of each grant as well as addressing the needs of the district as we go through each school year, we will make sure that we use all our grants as well as our local and general funds wisely to support our students and our staff. What questions might you have?
Thank you, Ms. Naik. I just have one quick question on the estimated expense projection slide. The salaries are 43% and the benefits is at 28, that's 28 point, is that a 6? 28.6% or is that a?
Yes.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, so of our expenses, about 71% of our expenses are salaries and benefits.
Yes.
Thank you. Any board questions?
I do have one, Madam President. Ms. Nayak, thank you for the presentation. I really appreciate it. I guess my question I saw, I'm happy to see in the ESSER funds that we are working on paying down some of our operational debt. Do you have an estimate on how much annually that's going to save us, paying down that portion?
So when we are done with paying the Schneider Electric as well as our revenue refinance, it will clear up about $2.3 million annually.
Thank you.
2.3 million dollars.
Yes, trustee Townsend. So with the debt that we have from the merger for
Mhm.
public,
So if you were to look at the operational debt, after these 3 years, we will not have any operational debt left. We will pay down all of it. The bond debt has its own timeline. How much we pay depends upon what we collect from our 18 mills. So every year on an annual basis. I just paid the annual payment on April 24. We pay anywhere from 15 million to $15.5 million annually. Out of that, we collect $11 million and we borrow 4 point some million dollars to make that payment.
And then with the decrease, this will stay, we'll have something. Will this put us in a better position?
Absolutely. Because if you take the $2.3 million and divide by our student enrollment of 3,663, that's how much money per student we can invest more back into our staff.
I do want to just say, as a new kid on the block, I do appreciate how you down and simplify it. And I do want to say that I received a lot of good words about how you simplified it. People ask questions. I was just able to send a video. So I found it smart. So I just wanted to say thank you for that and just listening to what the board had to say.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other board questions? Thank you, Ms. Nyack. This is so helpful.
Thank you so much.
Our next presentation this evening is our staffing projection and talent management report. Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm standing in the stead of Ms. McCarty, who is not feeling well today. And so I'm going to bring the FTE staffing projections by building. I just want to remind the board, and I know you know, but more so for the public, this is a part of our field book work that we say that every year, this time of year, we do the 3-year budget projections as well as the FTE staffing projections by building for the 22-23 school year. And we know that these are all projections and we try our very best using information that we'll be sharing today. And so we are having a job fair this week. So we know that it's out and we're excited about that. So we just start here at the very beginning. This is where the Human Resources Office really works together to collaborate to gather this information. So we're wondering, like, what is the purpose of this? Why do we lift this up every year? Is because she can't do this alone. The HR department can't do this alone. So where we are right now, you are here, is at the planning, staffing, adjustments period. And this tool just helps the Human Resource Department, the business office, as well as the building principals to know where we are. And you see, as they're gathering information from the buildings, you'll see we'll be going through this whole process so that we'll be able to truly project the need. So the data that she gathers to be able to calculate this is very much aligned to what you heard Ms. Nyack talk about earlier. She looks at not just the IADEX reports and the standards report, but she looks at the student counts exactly from PowerSchool. We know that oftentimes our numbers, when we talk about FTE, we're talking about a 0.25 or a 0.75. We can't put teachers in classrooms based off of those FTE numbers that we get off of MSDS. We have to look at how many bodies are there. If they're there all day, partial of the day, we need teachers to educate these students. So we have the student counts from PowerSchool because that's the bodies in seats in classrooms. Also listening to the input of building administrators. Every year, the buildings send out surveys, they talk to parents, they know if families moving. So the building administrators are the best source. And then looking at the FTEs from the previous school year to try to match, okay, here's how many we have in our bodies do we have here. This is the FTEs we had accounted for last year. So here will be the numbers that Ms. McCarty will operate with. And so from that, she'll take that information, and we're going around that little circle we just talked about. From that, she also needs to look at other things and work with other departments. So first, there's the student needs. They're first considered. So there might be students who are 504s. There might be students who have IEP requirements. They're also looking at how many Title I staff do we have in reading and math, our behavior specialists, and the other staff that we have that are ancillary. Should also look at teacher certifications. This is most important for secondary. As in secondary, they have to be highly qualified in certain areas. If we're offering certain classes, we saw our culinary students here today, we'll have to have a certified staff member. So it's not just off of counts, but what programs and classes we're offering. Also, obviously, the student staff ratio per the collective bargaining agreement in every building, as well as our budget and what our budget can sustain. So based on that, and these numbers are really small, thank goodness that all these PowerPoints are on the website so that anybody that wants to see from the board meeting. But what this slide represents is that every single building is looked at very specifically. And she starts off by looking at our current student enrollment. So that's that first column. So this is an example of Beatty. And the thing about Beatty that we want to highlight is we try to anticipate, because there's no previous years. There's just every year we have the slots, and we try to fill them based on the qualified numbers of students. So we look at the current year, we try to project to what our slots will be, and then make that recommendation. This recommendation is that it remains the same. We hope to keep our slots and the numbers of classrooms. We have 8 classrooms, and you see the support interventions that are there. Then at Ford ELC, you'll see an addition on this one. You heard that at the points of pride. We know that we talked about the Spanish immersion program, that it would go up as long as it was sustaining with students. And so instead of one full FTE, it's adding that first grade, that kindergarten to move up, and then there'll be another kindergarten and a first grade class. So there'll be one additional FTE in the Spanish immersion program, yet all other grades remain stable in terms of the number of staff that are expected. As we go on to Perry ELC, there are no changes projected in that program. So looking at the numbers and just moving everything up, that looks like it will remain the same in our projections. And then Erickson, I'll start here with our elementaries. With our elementaries, what you'll notice is that there's just a continual roll up. So what they had in first grade moves up to second, second to third, third to fourth, fourth to fifth. And so with that, at Erickson Elementary, again, there's not any anticipated major changes that would require more or less staff. So that one remains the same as well. As we look at Erickson, you'll see that same roll up. You'll see that they do have additional classes in there, and that's with the numbers of FTE for special interventions. As you know, they have some special programs, special services in that building. So that's why those numbers are up. Yet overall, these numbers for staffing remain the same. Holmes Elementary is a roll up as well. Again, you'll see that they have the ASD class there with additional support. Yet this again indicates the same FTEs for staff as we have this school year. With WISE, we're really happy that we've been able to remain now stable, as we know before we would go back and forth in terms of
That's Wednesday. That's when you're
That's on
talking about
Wednesday,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
And it's in person or virtual. It's two options. And students will be
Yes.
there to receive their awards.
Yes, my understanding is there's sort of a limited amount of in-person and it is
Oh, okay.
available to everyone, virtual.
So
Okay.
very
people in there. If we don't have PA systems if we don't have PA systems throughout our buildings, if we have to call for a lockdown, if we have to do a shelter in place, there's no way for the office to communicate to the staff. And we know that our systems have been antiquated and has caused in several of our buildings safety concerns. And so as we push and talk about the need for the PA system, this is a huge impact to bringing forth a safe environment in all of our buildings. And so we appreciate the PA systems and the trauma supplies. We appreciate the fact that we received we will receive the $250,000 to complete the installation of that work. And then as we've been continuing to talk about what are outstanding, because we talk about our staff, and I know at the top of the hour, we talked about for Staff Appreciation Week, and we could not do any work without our amazing, incredible staff. And the Tech and Learning Award was about what is happening with social emotional wellness in the district, from students to parents to staff. And we know, like Ms. Tillerson said, people are just exhausted, worn out from every single department, all those partners. And so the work that they are doing, the work that they are accomplishing, even in spite of, was recognized by the Tech and Learning Summit personnel. So we're very proud of that. And then I know some people were here today, board members. So the award for today, we know, again, we wish that every teacher, every staff member could be acknowledged for the outstanding work. This individual, however, has really demonstrated throughout the years, just number one, compassion, empathy, the relationship building, the good fight that we talk, the real fight for equity. And Lauren Fardick, DF, I just say LFD, LFD over at ACE today. It was a big surprise, but was nominated, supported all the way around to be the LaFontaine Teacher of the Year for the entire Washtenaw County. Woo. Yes, she deserves it. She deserves it. The students were there in support, and they spoke up and spoke about their relationship with her, how she touches them in a unique way, how they can come to her with anything. And she'll be able to choose what kind of car she wants for a 2-year lease. And so we're just so pleased that she was selected, but it's well deserved. And there's so many more in the district where it could be, where they also deserve this award. But for YCS staff to receive this, we know Chip Bennett has received it for Perry Elementary. We know Patricia Stevenson McGee from the middle school has received this great honor. And now Lauren, again, for her just outstanding work. And so we congratulate her. Thank you, board members, for being there today to help us celebrate Lauren. Well deserved.
Any other board comments? Yes, Trustee Gaines.
Really hard to follow that one, but speaking of well-deserved recognition for our staff, I felt like, I guess I was expecting an action item on Priya's discussion about the bonus payment, and I don't know if we need any resolution or advice or consensus on that, but I do just want to say that I would really advocate for, I thought that $2,000 bonus was a good compromise, living within our means, recognizing our staff. And additionally, appreciate everyone who made the SEEK grant happen, because that one is an additional bonus payment that is going to go to our staff as a staff retention bonus. And so, if I could give our staff like all a new car, I absolutely would do it in a heartbeat. But I do think it's important to, to recognize them as much as we can. So I would advocate for those things as we
as we go forward, and just appreciate all the work that's gone into it.
I just thank you for bringing that up because I know she showed the 1750 that we started with, the adjustments that were made. I know we came to the finance committee to say, well, this is more, but we aren't going to be able to, we know that the 2,000, what they asked for, we'd love to give the 2,500, we would be in the red, and we know that this budget is approved from Michigan Department of Ed. We know that it's also you spend it, then you can ask for it to be reimbursed. We haven't gotten it all yet. Hopefully we will. And we want to continue. The work that we're doing is to set the district up so that we can structurally maintain. If you looked over those 3 years, we really did bargain in good faith, knowing that we have to pull the student counts. We have to continue to move our student counts up so that we don't go into an operational deficit. And so although people see the money, they have to see that the effort is there. When we negotiated and passed that last contract in June, we didn't have the SEEK grant. We put in there the additional $2,000, the money that is going to additionally happen for 3 years. That's guaranteed, not this one-time money. The 3 years, we are fighting to make sure that we can add even more, but that was additional. We didn't even have that coming. We got notified about it in November. And we know that it'll be tiered next year, but it's guaranteed additional for 3 years. And how we work it, how we navigate our finances is being looked at. I'm really appreciative of Senator Irwin and the work that the Senate did to pass it on to the governor to help us get that one reduction of $1.4 million in interest. We know that it's the interest. That's why it's going down so slowly, but it doesn't give us more money in the general funds. And then we understand there's low cost on others, but our transportation department right now with gas, with maintenance, with not having shuttle services is up. We know it's 1.4 million. Now it's getting closer to, I can't remember, but there's over to 1.4 million. So there's always that balance. And so I hope that overall our staff can see the efforts, not talk, the negotiated contract, they hadn't gotten raises. We moved the salary scale over and we gave steps and we did the longevity. Now there is the COVID pay. In addition, that could have come off the table in addition to the SEEK money. The SEEK money, however, I gotta say is for instructional staff. And when you look across the county, that most people got this COVID pay only for instructional staff and for administrators. And some people talk about the percentage. Oh, they gave a percentage. If you look at what $2,000 will mean for some of our departments, especially our support staff, that percent is amazing that the board is willing to offer that we are able to show that in the SEEK and have that, not in the SEEK, I'm sorry, in the ESSERS, and make sure that all, if we did smaller amounts, if we didn't include some of the support, then we could do that. We could give the 2,500, but we felt like it was so important to stay within the budget and to give it to everybody. And so please, I just pray that our staff will look at the overall in less than a year, because we negotiated that contract less than a year ago. And we're still bringing, if you're instructional staff, $4,000 more than they even thought that they will be receiving by the end of this year. And it's because of their hard work. It's not because of us. They have worked their tails off. They have been committed and dedicated to students. It has not been about administration and board. It's because of their love and commitment to our students. And we authentically appreciate every single one of them.
Madam President, just so for clarification, because I think that's where some people may be confused about the report. The report that Ms. Priat gave talked about where we started at the 1750, what the union wanted, and where we're ending at.
Mhm.
So that's where I think there might be a misunderstanding. So the amount that is going to be given out, if, Madam Superintendent, is the 2,000.
Yes.
It's not the 1,750.
No.
Okay, so that's where the clarification, I guess, we want to make sure everybody understands that.
Mhm.
And that is going to everybody or just
Everybody.
everybody. And
Every
so-
instructor,
Yeah.
every person employed by the district.
Right, so I think that's what the clarification might have been, because I think they thought it was 1,750.
And we did start there.
Yeah.
Thank you, trustee Townsend, and thank you, trustee Gainsley. I'm not sure if I know that in the presentation, Ms. Nyack asked if it was the consensus, and I guess the question at this point is there any board member who objects to the 2,000? It seems like it's the will of the board that the 2,000 is acceptable, and we will let administration take it from here.
Thank you. And I want to address that because the additional funds for ESSER, for all of the ESSERs that staff have received additional funds, and it wasn't through approval, it was approved through Michigan Department of Ed. We just don't want to be given stipends, doing things, and our board hasn't publicly talked about it where it comes, that's a flow through the board, through the district. Those other ones, a lot of that has come through directly through the state and has not come to the board table. And we don't want it to be seen that we're going behind the scenes. We want to bring this to the board. And you'll see that in a final amendment and budget as an approval. That's where it will go. But because now I'm giving more explanation, but because, again, thinking about the staff members, if they receive that May payment and the June payment at the same time, that they will be taxed and would not feel it. And so it was intentional for the business office to meet the dates of the grant, to be able to give the stipend and give them as much as possible in their pockets. So that was the rationale, that one would be in the May and one would be in June to meet both requirements.
And I just had to pull up the presentation. It is in the presentation, all those, the 1,750, the 2,500, and then the 2,000. Yeah, it's in here. Any other board comments at this time? Dr. Zachary Ross, do you have any additional comments?
Yes, again, thank you for all of the support for coming over to ACE. Again, a well-deserved teacher with Lauren. We just really appreciate what she's doing. I know we lifted up the senior honors program. We are really hoping to start having as many of these things in public with public present. We know that the seniors had their talent night the other night and last week, and we watched it online on Facebook Live, but it's nothing like being able to be there to cheer them on. And I appreciate the public knowing that we're just really working through this, navigating with this. There's also just a lot of other support that we're receiving. That's through the Community Foundation and the work that our foundation is, our own YCS Foundation is leading through. But then there's also Kiwanis is going to be recognizing some of our students May 16th. Also, as we look forward to the Y-High graduation, I know we have a board workshop before then, but I want to make sure as public is listening is going to be on May 26th. And then we will be back at the EMU Convocation Center on June 8th for our commencement ceremonies. And we're just excited that that is in person, that we will be back, and that we will be able to have the public join us in that large location. And we just want to continue to be able to be in person as we transition. We know that the mass survey was up today. I'll be bringing those recommendations to the board. And I've shared that result so that you can see it, and we'll present that also to the public at on May 17th. And note that that board meeting and workshop is a shorter meeting so that you can spend more time with the workshop with Dr. Dorinda Carter Andrews on a Tuesday this time, Tuesday, May 17th. That is what she couldn't do Mondays, and we didn't want to keep pushing out this important work. And so Tuesday, May 17th. And I was trying to look at one more important announcement that I wrote down, but I can't find it, so I was trying to do quickly. We were very proud that we also had in Washtenaw County, just announced yesterday, 5 Washtenaw County High School students who were named Young Citizens of the Year for 2022. We're just really excited to see that we had 2 students from Y High that were recognized, and we know that we're excited to think about their graduation. Harshini Anand, she's a senior, and we're very, very proud of her. And we also had Kaden Hawkins, who also is just so happens to kind of be related, but I know we're just proud of all our young people, and sometimes we don't lift up all of them, and these we cannot lift up every award that our students have received. Yet this Young Citizens of the Year is a significant one. It stands out. We know that we had, I know I was a part of some nominations of some students who were outstanding, and you'll see them in the article as finalists, because our students are well deserving. I don't know, my phone keeps locking. I think it's because it doesn't want to recognize me. They have just had outstanding contributions. And so to all of them, I ask that you look at also the nominees, to note our outstanding students who were nominated, who were finalists, and we just congratulate all 5 and just highlight, especially those are 2 from Y High that represent us so well. And congratulations to them. Congratulations to you and your family, Dr. Hawkins.
I just wanted to say to the board that on May 17th, our board workshop, I just wanted to remind everyone that we do not have a regular board meeting that week. We replaced it with the board workshop. I know that everyone knows that, but I just wanted to say it publicly, so the community also knew that we weren't holding a regular meeting on Monday, but instead we're holding our workshop that Tuesday with Dr. Dorinda Carter. And congratulations all around. This is just a great way to kick off the week with all of these wonderful things that are happening in our district. We appreciate all the hard work of every single person who touches the lives of our students each and every day. It does not go unnoticed. So we just thank you all. We appreciate you all, and continuing to support YCS is going to make our students great citizens that will contribute to this world. Any other board comments? Dr. Zachary Ross?
I just thank you all, and we're going to end this year strong. We really appreciate everything that everyone is doing to support our students at YCS.
All right, seeing no other comments, the time is 8:40. This regular Board of Education meeting is adjourned. Ready to do anything to my mic?